Live.
All right, I believe we're live now. So, hello everyone. Hello everyone. This is Content Creators Corner for IAWTV. I'm your host, Marx Pyle, also a web series creator and one of the board members of the IAWTV. I'm joined with three other board members this time, and so we're mixing up the format just a little bit. Before I introduce our guests and talk more to them, we're going to do a little shout out to some of the members. I had asked if anybody had new episodes coming out or had come out so far this year, and any other news going on. So I'm going to go into that real quick here. So our new member, Mark Edward Lewis, you might know him as the director of Star Trek New Voyages. I believe had been nominated for some awards last year. He is requesting help in casting a lead role in his sci-fi series Blade of Honor. The role is a 25 to 33 white or Hispanic or Asian female. It's for a 5-day SAG shoot in LA, late June, early July. Already attached is Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica, James Kyson from Heroes, Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager, Brandon Stacy from Star Trek New Voyages, and Rivka Ravenwood, hope I pronounced her first name correctly. She was nominated last year for Star Trek New Voyages. And they're happy to provide an executive producing credit to any individual who can help them find an actress who has a strong internet presence or a recognizable face from a TV series, and it doesn't have to be sci-fi. So I will, for all this shout-outs and any of the news that we talk about today, I will have the links in the show notes soon after the episode airs. So I'll have links to their site up there soon. Also, we have Tara T. Johnson's web talk show Words, Wine, and Women premiered new episodes in January and February over at wordswinewomen.com. Also, member Dan Gorski's Cohabits web series just started up recently. It's about a dog that plots her escape from the mundane habits of humans and the absurdity of domestic cohabitation. New episodes every Wednesday through April.
I'm sorry, I think of like my cats being like guest stars on that, and that would just be amazing.
That would be great. That would be great. Also, please welcome new IAWTV member Val Stuhlman and her new web series vlog, Monster Shrink, Dr. Dani's Fireside vlog, which premiered January 26th and has new episodes every Tuesday. And then also real quick, some crowdfunding news, shout-outs. 2015 IAWTV winner for Best Production Design and Best Transmedia Series, The New Adventures of Peter and Wendy, is actually in the middle of an Indiegogo campaign right now to raise funds for Season 3. I'll include a link to that Indiegogo campaign. And also congratulations to member Ben Dobbins for his successful Kickstarter campaign, which raised over $425,000 for Season 3 of the fantasy comedy series JourneyQuest. All right, I think that covers all of that good stuff. Congrats everybody on your work, and please keep us up to date on your new episodes coming up, so you can all check them out. Now, without further ado, let's get to our guests. We have Cesa Ward, who is not only a new board member but is also our new chair.
What?
I was clapping, but it was way below camera. You couldn't see it, so I had to.
Also, a new board member, Tonya Dodds.
Hello.
And not new, but still cool, board member, Jonathan Robbins. So.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, and I'm sorry. I should have mentioned also that if you guys are watching us live right now and you have any questions about the IAWTV or that you would like to ask us, which is a great time. We got 4 board members, including the chair, on. Please go ahead and tweet us at #IAWTV. And also, I don't know if you noticed, I got a little bit of a head cold. My voice is a little troublesome today, so apologize in advance. So let's start off. Let's go to Tonya. Tonya, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tonya. I am a content creator from Toronto, Canada, and I'm authentic Toronto because I don't say the second T. Jonathan.
Called Toronto for a reason.
Is that really the case? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. If you are from, especially from Ontario, you'd never say the second T as Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, see,
hardcore
and
Toronto.
early on in life, I would say Toronto, and then later in life, I thought I had to pronounce that second T. So now I'm saying it Toronto.
You can be lazy with it. It's absolutely fine. So I live in Toronto. Actually, I work a lot with Jonathan on different projects, and I'm really excited to be on the board of the IAWTV. This is just me gushing a little bit, but the organization was always sort of like the cool kids. I was like, you guys are awesome, and you make such like great content. And now that I've been part of the organization for a while, and I've sort of seen how it all works, and got to meet some of the cool kids, I'm really excited to be part of the board and really helping the organization sort of foster a great community of creators worldwide. That's something I am passionate about, is championing creators and great content, and finding new opportunities for great content to go up in front of an audience that actually watches it. That's something I'm really, really passionate about. So I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to the next bit of time on the board.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
All right, well, let's move over to Tina, please.
Okay, so I'm Tina. You know, I'm the new appointed chair, which is certainly going to be an undertaking, but an honor nonetheless. So I'm very excited to take it on. I gave it a ton of thought, and I've been involved with the organization since its inception back in the day, and I've kind of seen it grow and you know, have its ebbs and flows. So I'm really excited to kind of take it on and get it going in some interesting directions. And you know, I know I've said wonderful things about the board before in emails and posts, but it is true. We have a good solid board right now that really likes to work. And the past, how long have I been chair, guys? Like a little over a week, and I think I've emailed you all like a gazillion times, and I'm like, oh gosh, they probably are like, what did we do? So I've gotten to know everybody very, very well over this short period of time that I've been chair. Special shout out to Jason, my vice chair, we've been in constant contact quite a bit. So everybody's been fantastic, and we all seem to be ready to go and to tackle some things. So some of the things that we're really looking to do is, of course, the award show is very, very important, and I always have thought that the award show is very important, and so we're working really hard to kind of keep it going, and we have plans, and Jonathan's going. I'm going to let Jonathan talk all about that, but just know that yes, the awards is certainly still important to us, but also what's important to us is doing other things with the organization. So we've all been doing a lot of brainstorming, and I've already started the wheels turning on other things to, you know, bring in membership to give you benefits as members. I know that there's the kind of argument of like, what are we getting for our membership? Well, we're going to start giving you a lot of stuff for your membership, and we're going to start doing, you know, more things here in LA, and we're also going to do, we're talking about doing some things in London as well as Toronto. Oh, Toronto. And hard to say. That's it. So definitely going to bring back a lot of things that I know that I loved early on, which are like screenings, meetups, those type of wonderful things, as well as some new things to do what the organization I think has the ability to do and should do, which is to help you guys make content. I mean, that's what we need, right? We need the ability to continue on to make content. It's not easy. It's certainly not easy. You make one season and then you're like, now I don't have any money to make anymore. Well, we're really hoping and putting our heads together on how to kind of help everybody move forward to being able to continue on to make stuff. So that is a huge, huge goal for us, and I'm really excited about it. We definitely have a lot of ideas, and we'll, you know, as they get ironed out a little bit more, then we'll start talking to everybody a little bit more about that. We're doing everything from soup to nuts, from like getting a better website going, to the groups cleaning, getting the groups all solidified for actual active members, and all these kind of wonderful things. And so I hope you guys, get excited about it. And I think once we start, letting things, that we're working on come out and be actual solid things, you guys will get excited and want to be a part of it again. And not to mention the awards yet, which we'll be very excited about as well. One thing I wanted to mention, I didn't know if Jonathan wanted to mention this, but sorry, Jonathan, I'm going to go mention it.
Whatever it is.
Is that one thing I'm excited about, which I had a meeting about today, is that we're working with OutWebFest here in LA, which is really maybe the first LGBT web festival. They're doing wonderful things. I'm very excited to work with them. So May 7th, we're going to do a wonderful panel with them called How the Web Tells My Story, and we're going to have some wonderful panelists, and then it's going to be a whole day without WebFest. They're doing a wonderful, just full-on day of screenings and panels, yeah, more will be coming from them on that, but I'm excited to be involved with doing that. Jonathan has another thing that he's going to talk about that I'm not going to talk about.
That one I'll save.
Yes, that one you have two things for sure to talk about. So I think it's kind of a little glimpse of what we're doing, but know that we're working on it, and we're working on it really hard. And I just think that this organization is important, and it has been important, and now's the time for us to kind of really keep it moving and get it moving in a solid direction. So I'm excited to do that.
If I could do a standing ovation right now, I absolutely would. But I'm wearing
standing. I can't tell.
Well, I'm wearing gross sweatpants. I look good from here up, so I'm not
yes, exactly.
There's so much that goes into things sometimes before they can be shared or before they're ready. So what you said about when these things start to come out and people really see that, I think it'll be appreciated, the amount of work that has been going in thus far to make those things happen.
Yeah, it is a lot of effort.
It is. Sort of on that note, we actually just got a tweet in from actually our friend Anthony Davis. He's saying it's good to see us all. He's like, you'll know I'll help the community as much as I always have. So we have a very ardent support.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. Oh, yes, and that is something definitely I should mention, is that we really want the community to get involved. We want to bring back members to really come back in and work on committees and really get involved. It's not going to be, the board up on high that you don't know what they're doing or all that stuff. We really want this to be your organization, and we need your help to do it. I mean, this is a completely volunteer organization, and although all of us are running around like crazy trying to do stuff, we definitely need everybody's kind of input and involvement and all that stuff to really get it going in the direction that all of us want it to go in. So getting involved is huge, and I applaud anybody who wants to get involved, and we'll definitely be reaching out about some things soon. Okay, Jonathan, go.
A tough act to follow, honestly. We're just so grateful to have you as chair, Tina, and so glad that you joined the board, and yeah, just it's been a pleasure working with you already. So for those that don't know me, I'm Jonathan Robbins. I guess I'm about 18 months into a 2-year term on the board. When I first joined the board, one of my first tasks was as co-head writer on the awards, then with Carrie Preston. And I continued with the awards the following year and became the executive director for last year's awards. And have been still heavily involved with moving those forward now, which we'll talk about in a bit, I guess. And well, yeah. Did we want to get right into what's going on with the awards updates there? Jump ahead on that?
Sure.
Go for it.
Cool. So, the awards have always been a challenge because they're done at a very high level. We have been called the Emmys of the web by Vegas 7 magazine, for example, and we really do aim to be. We aim to be at that high caliber where we value the quality of the judging, we value the quality of the show that we're putting out there, and the quality of the broadcast. And we've had partners in the past to do this with, but This year, as you know, we lost our partner NMX. They had financial issues, and we were just not in a position to continue with them, and we didn't think that they could deliver what we needed, and they didn't think that they could deliver what we needed, so we mutually parted ways. And that was around November when we announced that we were struggling and not sure what we were going to do with the awards, and we were looking for your help. Well, you came forward, and you have been helping, you being the members, wonderfully so. Since then, we've been able to hire a sponsorship director who is working very hard to find us independent money so that we can actually run the show ourselves, which would be something we've never done before. We've never had the source of funds to do that with. Certainly in my time, perhaps in the first couple of years, I'm not sure if it was...
First couple of years, yeah. It was produced, yeah, by
So
us.
anyway,
Go ahead.
So we'd return to that model and raise the funds to do so, and we'd be looking at then having this year's awards in the fall, late October, early November, which would mean opening for submissions around the summertime. And if that goes ahead, what we would then do is the eligibility would be everything basically created since submissions closed for the last awards. So we'd be looking at any shows with new content since February 2015. So, you know, a nice window, and we would then launch the show, make it LA-based. That's one of the important changes that we've discussed, and we feel it's very important to have the show in LA this year. You know, an award show, the number one thing that we want is the people that are nominated to be present at that show. And we have nominees from all around the world, which is not only fantastic and important to the organization, but we have to look at where the bulk of content and the bulk of our members and the bulk of our nominees have been from, which is the Los Angeles area. So if we were able to hold the show there, people that were traveling to Vegas can just as easily travel to Los Angeles, but people that were not able, or you know, schedule-wise, were not able to travel from Los Angeles would then be able to attend, and we'd see a greater nominee turnout. We'd also have a better time getting some high-caliber presenters and make the show really a lot of fun and a real blast. So it's definitely important to us to hold it in LA. That is not necessarily a permanent decision, and we're certainly open to holding it in other cities in the future. But right now, we're looking at basing it in LA. And finally, if we don't feel confident that we can deliver an Emmy quality show, as we have been on our own money this year, we would skip a year. The Streamies did it, and they came back stronger than ever, so it's certainly something that we could do. Not our first choice, but would be preferable than delivering a subpar show. We will not let that happen. So that's the awards update.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna say something, Tina?
Oh no, it's great. Yeah, no, I'm you know, we even this past week and since I've been on, we've had a lot of discussions about the awards, and I've had been in many meetings, and we're working on some pretty big things, and some things I'm be really happy if we can pull off, because there'll be things that I think every member is going to be excited about. So we'll see. We'll keep it going. We'll make it happen.
And one thing also, you know, adding to what Tina said before, that membership involvement, as it has been in the past, will continue to be very, very important to the awards. Not only for the input and the involvement, but for the help. We will still be, you know, doing this with the hard work and mostly volunteer work of the community, and we'll certainly be looking for anyone that wants to be involved in making that happen. But also just to be involving the community in a creative way, you know, the way we've done with judging and presenting and getting us all showing ourselves off as part of the amazing community that we are.
Okay. Is there something else you wanted to mention too, Jonathan? I think you mentioned before.
Yes. So the other thing that that I've been involved in working on with Jason Brazier and now Tina as well is continuing the IAWTV Just for Laughs partnership. 3 years ago, we began a partnership with Just for Laughs in the Comedy Pro program with an initiative called Beyond the Box Playing It Short. And what this is So Just for Laughs, if you're not familiar with it, is a comedy festival based in Montreal. They do tour worldwide. I believe it's the biggest or second biggest comedy festival in the world. Last year they had a Lifetime Achievement Award for Mike Myers. Kevin Hart was there. Dave Chappelle. There was a reading of The Big Lebowski with Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence. It's a major event that draws people. Oh, all the magic. I mean, it's a major event that draws people from around the world, and these comedy producers and creators and comedians and writers and actors and directors are all coming together. And Comedy Pro is the professional track of that festival. And so at Comedy Pro, we will have 5 people present pitches for new series ideas, new comedy series ideas, web series, of course. To a panel of judges. Those judges would be, for instance, last year there was someone who was the VP of Development at HBO, head of digital at Fox, people of that caliber. So you'd be pitching your series to them, they'll give you feedback and declare a winner of the pitch competition. Submissions are open right now. You can submit your comedy idea. They are looking for short format comedy series. You don't have to have completed any production material at this point, but you do have to submit a sample pilot script and the synopsis of the idea and an idea of what the budget would be when you make it. And if you are selected as one of the top 5, you do have to get yourself to Montreal, but you will get a pair of passes to Comedy Pro, which are valuable professional passes. You can attend all of the conferences and workshops that they have, and of course the luncheons and the Netflix and Funny or Die parties, which are to die for. So, well worth submitting. The link is below. See, I'm not the comedian, clearly. The link is below. It's at comedypro.hahaha.com, and you can submit your project over the next month for that.
Really? It's at hahaha.com.
How many ha's?
Just for Laughs website is hahaha.com. No kidding.
That's amazing.
All right, great. So something else we're going to do, a couple more things in this episode, is we're going to give each one of you give a tip that you would give to a web series creator, and then also we're going to talk a little bit about news. I think just because I hate for us to run out of time or feel really time crunch for a tip, if it's okay if we go ahead and start giving our tips. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
No volunteers. Look at silence.
Okay, I'll go, because you guys probably have like the basic tips. I'll just go. I'll do it. I'll be the first. I've learned my lesson. Never go second. Okay, so one of my biggest tips. I'm going to do a little bit of background to this just because that's what I do. So I work in the world of SVOD, so subscription video on demand. So I deal in digital content all the time. It's what I'm passionate about. I love it. It's great. All that fun stuff. So my biggest tip for web series creators is don't dream small. Dream big. Yes, it's not probable that all of a sudden HBO Go is going to call you and say, I want your series on my over-the-top service. It's not probable, but it is so possible. So do not limit yourself to thinking that your only option is YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, which are great. They're awesome. They're lovely. But you can also totally hit for the fences. Just do it. Trust me, it happens. That's my tip.
Okay, great.
It's a good tip.
All right, Jonathan?
Go, John.
Well, I think for me it always comes back to sound. It's the number one thing that people underestimate the need for, and getting having good sound as part of your project is really, really important for an audience member to be able to connect with it. There's nothing worse than hearing sound that goes like this, or it's hollow, or anything that will just take you out of the story and damage the work that you've worked so hard to create. So plan for not only having a good sound recordist on set to capture the sound well in the first place, but plan for a good sound mixer to really bring out the fullness of the sound at the end, and a good sound designer, and ideally a composer, is going to help you an awful lot. Sound is everything, and honestly, I've seen where looking at submissions to the awards in the past and judging for the Webbies and stuff, I've seen shows that I think with good sound would have been winners, and with bad sound are the worst thing you've ever seen in the world. And likewise, things that visually maybe aren't awesome are saved by really great sound. You can kind of get away with a so-so image if you have an awesome sound, but not the other way around.
Yeah, I think what I found is that film viewers or web series viewers, even if they're not trained, will notice bad sound, but you can get away with semi-bad acting or semi-bad camera.
No, you can't.
No, you can't get away with it. I'm sorry.
No,
you can't get away with it. But let me just. But they will always catch bad sound. Let me just say that.
You'll always catch other things like bad acting and bad other things. But I understand your point about sound. Absolutely, I get you.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's like one of those things that you can be more forgiving if there's a little with the acting or a little with the lighting or whatever. But like with sound, one slip and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. Perhaps a better way,
I could tell. Like, I'm done.
Perhaps a better way to word it is they might even know that it's sound, but it will affect their experience. So I think one person told me once, or maybe an instructor once, that that with bad sound it makes your cinematography seem so much worse, basically, with audience members. So it affects the whole experience.
It's exactly what you said. They might not know it. The difference between amazing cinematography and good cinematography, everything is still in focus. We're not talking about like things that are completely out of focus or just, horribly lit. It's the difference between, maybe it's going to improve the mise-en-scene for you, that it affects you that much more, but you're not necessarily aware of it when you're just watching an averagely shot thing. But if it's an averagely sound thing.
Yeah.
Is that the technical term, Jonathan Robbins?
Exactly. Why I hired.
And as you alluded to, it's because I've judged a few things, and it's always the number one most common problem people have. So I think everybody focuses so much on the camera and getting that expensive camera, they forget about their sound gear. They forget to point the microphone in the right direction sometimes. So.
Well, I think that comes down to the fact that now we have much better cameras that almost that the image already looks better than it has ever. Right? But sound, it's not like you can just set up sound and it's ready to go. I mean, sound, the structure of it has pretty much been the same throughout. Yes, you can record it now digitally and all that other good stuff, but the basics are kind of still there, and you have to, do it as you would have years ago. Not that that's meaning that you don't with camera, but yes, I think that you're right that cameras have advanced so much, and just even looking through your iPhone now, the image looks so much better that most people are like, oh, this looks great, I'm just going to go. And they just don't think that anything more than that. And then, of course, the sound loses out on that. But I will say that not even the best sound will forgive bad acting.
No.
Yeah, no.
I shouldn't have worded it that way. It's all got to be as good as you can make it, but sound will always get caught.
And on top of that, because I feel like, and not to pick on actors, because I feel like actors kind of, and see, I've offended Jonathan, and now he's gone. now is and not to just say bad actors are just bad actors. They're getting bad direction. Let's be honest, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the actors. It's about the direction that they're giving. So I don't want to just pick on actors, because it's director's faults as well when it comes to sound as well. So it's the director's fault when it comes to anything bad, honestly. So let's put the blame where it should be. So anyway, so anyway, what my tip is, which is kind of good because we've kind of worked back. My tip is always, when everybody asks me, and I teach classes on new media, is that when you're working on your story and you have an idea for a story, or you're writing it or whatever, you absolutely have to know who your audience is. If you don't know who your audience is, you are in trouble from top to bottom. And the one thing about the web is that it is so built on like a niche audience that if you are just making a show and you have no idea what it's about, you're not going to know where to put it, or who to market it to, or what websites to go to that might want to carry your show, or any other groups to target, and then you're just putting it up and you're getting 30 views, So it's super, super important to know who your audience is going in. And know exactly where to find that audience, because working on the web isn't just about creating stuff, it's about marketing your stuff. And that's what's completely different from traditional for all of us that produce and write and direct our stuff, is that you have to kind of pull that hat off at some point and think of, how am I going to market the show? How am I going to get it out in the world? Since so much video is uploaded every second, you're just going to get lost in the shuffle if you don't have a clear path to your audience. And that always starts with knowing your audience. So if you're writing something and someone says, well, who's your audience for that? And you are like befuddled, figure that out before you go further, because you're going to be in a world of hurt going out into the world if you don't know that. And it can't just be, well, they're sci-fi fans. I mean, part of that, yes, that could be. But even try to get even more pinpointed, on that stuff. So it will only help you in the end. So that is my big tip.
So that way, when HBO Go calls you and asks you,
exactly,
what's your show about and who should we market it to, you already have the answer.
Exactly, and that's what they're looking for. That's what anybody is looking for. They're looking at your show and thinking, oh, well, this is the audience. It's going to work for a network, or it's not. So exactly. It's all about that at the end of the day. So there you go.
Yep, I think that's great advice. I mean, you can the Guild. You can kind of say their core audience, starting out at least, was online gamers, right?
Yeah, I mean It's a fantastic example. I mean, that was such a pinpointed audience and it was online, and I mean, it was so smart. It's the best example for sure to give that, like, it's about gamers, it's online. So that's the audience that totally took hold of that show and expanded out for sure, but that core audience really helped push that show into the mainstream. So it's really important to know that.
All right, all great tips. So let's move on to a few news bits. Like, talk about some of the news going on out there in the web world. So let's start off with the Emmy Awards. The Emmy Awards had a new rule change. It was really exciting about their new short form, some new short form categories. They expanded the short form categories. And I believe, I don't have my article in front of me, but I believe they put it into 4 different categories, plus they have actor and actress categories too. So it's a big expansion. What do you guys think about that?
Terribly exciting. It's
really exciting.
Great. I mean,
it's about freaking time, actually. We've been saying this forever. We're legitimate. Recognize us. Thank you. We're just as good as you.
I mean, to brag about my other country, Canada, Canadian Screen Awards, which are basically the Oscars and the Emmys of Canada combined into one award. They started doing this a few years ago, and last year they actually included web series as part of the national broadcast. So Best Web Series showed clips that were seen by a couple million live viewers. I'd love to see the Emmys do that as well. Right now, all of these categories are part of the, I guess it's the technical awards, what they call it, like
creative. Yeah, it's
not
different ceremony.
great, yeah. It would be nice to see them up there in a screen agnostic format, along with regular television, so to speak. It was still terribly exciting that they've taken this step.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like they're doing it for the right reasons. I mean, they're a little bit behind some other organizations, us. But they seem to be doing it for great reasons. That they finally came to the conclusion that many of their members and people who are winning awards are doing this anyway, and they're producing great content. So why not recognize it? I think it's smart. I think it's excellent. And yeah, I'm glad they kind of caught up to what a lot of other groups are doing already. So
yeah, but they are probably the biggest group so far to do it. So I think that's certainly something to be said. I think it's fantastic on two fronts. And I think it's great because obviously it's the Emmys, and it's wonderful that they're recognizing us and all that stuff. I mean, sure, the Writers Guild was really the first one to do it, which, yes, it's my union, and they gave me one of those. but I still appreciate that they, leapt in really quickly to that. And then obviously the PGA. It would really be nice if SAG-AFTRA would finally consider it. But the Emmys, I think it totally is great that they're doing it. I think it's great because they're recognizing it, and then I also think it's great because I feel like right now there's a bit of a interesting thing that's happening with long form and short form. Like, there's not a huge amount of platform. There's so many platforms that used to be short form that have now moved to long form. So the fact that they've created this award when there's been such a migration back to long form is encouraging, because then it gives like, oh, there's still some short form. People still care about that, and so I mean, because if you look at it, it's like YouTube and Vimeo, and like Crackle used to do short form, they don't do short form anymore. Hulu used to short form, they don't do short form anymore. I mean, so there's plenty of platforms that have moved into long form, and although there are more coming out, new platforms which we'll see sometime soon, I think, that are going to carry more short form, but I like it just because it's saying, no, short form is still short form, and it's still here, and it's still going to be here from years to come. So I think that's encouraging, and it might get bigger companies to actually go back to making short form, because everybody loves awards. Every company wants to win one. So it might end up putting more money back into 15 minutes and under. So I think that's also really good. So hooray, Emmys.
A comment in the Variety magazine article about it that says that this decision poses competition to the Streamies and the International Academy of Web Television Awards. And I wanted to respond to that comment that, first of all, I'm honored that Variety thought to note us in that statement. But second of all, I don't think any of the Emmys, the Streamies, or the IAWTV Awards are in competition with each other at all, because we're all representing something overlapping, yes, but distinctively different.
Yeah, for sure.
And if anything, it's helped us talk about defining the IAWTV Awards and what they are and what they need to be, what we want them to be. And that conversation has really kind of made us recognize the importance of all three of these bodies and possibly many more, like the Indie Series Awards, that are all quite different from each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And we do have a tweet asking about what is screen agnostic.
Well, by screen agnostic, I just mean it doesn't matter if you've made something for celluloid, for television, for YouTube. It's the content.
Alrighty, and well, let's move on to another bit of news. I'm just curious what you guys think. I mean, would you watch a movie in your living room if it launched the same day as in theaters?
Yes.
If it was $50 or more.
Yeah, that $50. Yeah, gosh.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
So I read this article, and I'm like, okay, it's a cool concept, and I get it works around what a lot of the exhibitors are trying to like kind of figure out and where that sort of tension is. I'm pretty sure Netflix is doing this starting next year, like with some of their bigger titles. Like their new Brad Pitt deal, I think, is airing on Netflix the day it premieres in theaters. Like I feel like the whole, especially asking for $50 thing, when Netflix is already starting to do it as part and parcel with already their subscription-based service, I'm not sure. I don't know. I just think if one of the giants is already kind of doing it and starting to do that, I don't know if this is a $50 bad idea.
I think it's an interesting idea.
Interesting. I don't know. It's
I don't
hard.
necessarily look at Netflix in terms of feature films as one of the big ones yet. I mean, I feel like they're definitely moving in that direction, but they're certainly not Warner Brothers, Paramount, or Universal.
No.
But yeah, I do find it like this interesting concept of it. I mean, I guess they're charging you $50 because they're figuring you're going to get a whole bunch of friends to come over and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, am I charging at the door? That would be fine. I don't know, but I love it. I love when these new things come out. Like, this is what we're going to do now, and we're going to try this, and then, there's a big, thing about it, and then, it lasts maybe a few months, and then we never hear about it again. But I just love that kind of spirit of wanting to try new things, and understandable, because things are changing so fast that even the studios are like, oh, well, maybe we should try that, because most people are watching stuff at home than going to the movies. I will still go to the movies because I love going to the movies, and I hardly ever watch anything at home. I've completely separated the experiences. I watch TV at home, and I go to the movies, and it is partially about the popcorn, but I like going to the movies and seeing stuff, so I'll still go to the movies. Plus, $20 as compared to $50, still cheaper. Well, I guess when you add in the popcorn, you're halfway.
You're getting close to like 40 sometimes. My husband and I go, like, it's still $40 a night sometimes. I agree with what you're saying. I'm a huge fan of, I guess it's called distribution disruption, if that makes sense. Of like how do you, because it's not quite working for feature films unless you're Star Wars or Jurassic World. It's hard. Like, it's really hard. So I mean, I agree with you. I'm glad that the big guys are like, okay, we have to think out of the box with this. We have to figure out, like, how do we make people actually pay for the movies? Because they aren't doing it in a theater the same way they were. So I agree with you. I love the fact that people are like, okay, like, what's out there? Like, what could we do? Maybe this will work. Like, that's a really good sign. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's always fun. And they can't make money off DVDs anymore or at Blockbuster. So it's like, that used to be where all the revenue came in, but now that's not there anymore either. So they have to kind of look towards this idea. I think it's fun. It's fascinating to kind of watch it happen.
For people that aren't readily accessible to theaters, I remember my dad told once that I said, oh, when's the last time you saw a movie? And he said, well, last time we saw a movie, we drove for 40 minutes into the city, paid for parking, and then had to do this, and it ended up being a $200 night by the time you factor in that they got dinner at a restaurant and everything. So $50 maybe much more better option. Bad weather and some rural location, maybe $50 for a good deal.
You're talking about my hometown right now, aren't you, Jonathan Robbins? No, but that's true. Actually, I never thought of that. Like, so yeah, the theater that was in my hometown when I grew up was just a tiny little independent theater. Sticky floors, horrible sound, all that great stuff. It was awesome. But it doesn't run anymore. So in order for, like, my mom to go see a show, she's got to travel an hour and a half to go to a multiplex. Like, that's commitment to want to go to something. So yeah, I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. And people with families and all of that stuff, because it does get to be hard to, get your family out to the movies. So it makes sense. We'll see.
Yeah, sounds like it's getting better and better. We started off going, no way, and now we're going, no.
Different views, man. Different views.
Yeah, well, there's not just us in the world. There's obviously other type of people in the world, and now we've considered all those other people in the world, and so now we're feeling okay about it.
We walk around the corner and flash their Academy card and get in to see the movie for $5, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And if people are wondering what we were even talking about, I guess I forgot to say it's a new company startup called Screening Room that's trying to offer this. So in case you want to learn more.
Yeah.
So let's move on. There's a Vimeo. Speaking of video platforms, announced its second slate of original programming. What do you guys think about this new original programming from Vimeo and these other options they're giving web series creators?
Love. Anything that's offering like a chance for original series. I don't know what it's like for you in the States, but in Canada on TV, especially during the day, it's all just repeats of the same shows constantly. So, I mean, it has to change a little bit. There's rules that are changing, which is great. But I love anytime any platform is like, we're going to invest more into original programming and give people a chance to get their stories out. Hopefully, I'm assuming people are getting some sort of compensation for it. That'd be great. Like, I love it. Anytime, I don't care what platform, if they're like, we're investing in original programming, I'm like, I'm all over that. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because I think it's really becoming, the audiences between Vimeo and YouTube are becoming very distinct now. And I feel I'm happy with Vimeo really pushing and getting into the world because I feel like those shows, like what you see on, because who has an actual phone anymore, Mark?
Donate now.
All right.
It's YouTube calling saying no.
Yeah.
Cut the feed.
Sorry about that. This is live.
I think for me, I mean, I just feel like Vimeo is getting closer to kind of, to me, it always had like more of the independent filmmaker vibe. What? And then,
Sorry.
it's okay. It has more of that independent filmmaker vibe and more of people that are making more kind of independent scripted shows that you would later on maybe see on networks. Like they have High Maintenance, right, on Vimeo. And that show obviously is going on to HBO, which is fantastic. So I feel like Vimeo is becoming more of that platform for us that are making kind of mini television as opposed to, very digital stuff that's happening on YouTube. So I'm really excited about that because I feel like for a little time there it was any of us that were making scripted shows, we were kind of getting swallowed up by kind of the influencer 2-camera type shows and all that stuff, and everybody was throwing us all into one digital bag, and saying we should be getting, a scripted show should be getting just as many views as Shane Dawson, and I'm just like, no, I don't understand. But I feel with Vimeo, it's giving us another platform option that is a legit platform option, and I feel like they've certainly started to grow it quite a bit. So I'm excited about what Vimeo is doing. It'll be, and again, another short form platform. There's not as many as there used to be. So this is, I'm excited. I'll look to see what they're doing.
Great. Does anybody know how they work out these original programming deals? Is they approach people about this, about each of these?
I'm assuming it's very much like it is with all studios. I mean, you get in to talk to Vimeo and you pitch them shows. I mean, that's how I'm assuming it is. I mean, which is, the case with YouTube now, with YouTube Red. I mean, and it's been the case with all studio shows. So I'm assuming that's the case. I mean, I suppose there are those instances where you have a show on there and it's wildly popular and they are like, oh, that's a show we want to give more money behind, which I believe was the deal with High Maintenance. I know that it started there, and I believe they did that independently, and then it did so well that Vimeo's like, now we're going to give you money for another season. So obviously that can happen, which maybe is able to happen more on Vimeo than YouTube. Which I would think so, actually. So another plus for Vimeo.
All right, and let's see what else we got to look up here. We're almost ready to wrap up the show, too, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. But we'll talk about one more thing, if it's okay with you guys. And I haven't done any research on this, besides reading the article, but there was an article about first Instagram scripted series launches.
Oh, yeah.
And called Shield 5. And I think one of the first responses a lot of us had was, I don't know if that was first. But I mean, still great to use these mediums that are not used so often for storytelling and use it this way. I don't know. Anybody else could think of any other examples of Instagram being used this way?
There was one, I believe, and it is in the Toronto Web Fest, I believe, because I saw it through this year's Toronto Web Fest because I'm a jury member for this year, which has been awesome. Which I love being a jury because in the jury because you get to see all these shows that you've never seen before. And there was one, and God, if I can only remember the name of it. There's so many shows, but I was like, oh, an Instagram show. And then when you sent that news article, I'm like, what? I just watched one. And that obviously had been made some time ago, and I believe it was Italian, actually. So that might have been the difference, is that. And I also think, how can you ever say first ever? Because it's so hard. Because there's just so, I mean, this digital stuff is being made around the world. I don't know how. I would be very, very nervous to ever say it's the first of anything, because there's just, I mean, gosh, I just feel like, I remember when we did the Pioneer theme last year for the awards, we had, some discussions about, well, this was the first one, well, this was the first show, and this was the first show, and it ended up going back to 1995 being the first web series, and it's like, you just never can really say definitively what's the first of what, so. But good for that show.
Not the same thing,
What's that?
Being a pioneer and being the first are not the same thing.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
But agreed.
As you know, Jonathan, as you were part of those many discussions as well.
And
but I do think it's a cool thing to use Instagram to tell a video story, because you wouldn't have, whoever was the first or whoever's been doing it well. That's a really cool creative use of something that's not usually used that way. You know what I mean? That's it almost reminds me of the old coffee commercials with Giles and...
Giles, yes.
Where you
I don't think that's his real name, but...
I love
but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anthony Stewart's head, that's really what
yes.
I remember watching, even as a kid, waiting for the next commercial to air after they finished the whatever window of the first one, and be like, what's going to happen next? So I think it's a very cool use of Instagram, and I feel like a lot of people who make a lot of money in the digital world as either YouTubers or Viners, is that correct? They're the ones who've done super well are the ones who have taken that first step into using it in a really cool and different way. So I think that's awesome. So I'm intrigued. I'm curious how they're going to do it, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be 28 15-second episodes.
How do you do that? I did
to
commercials where I had 10 seconds, and that was it, because they were putting it up on social media, and I had 10 seconds to communicate things. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a talent, because I feel like when I've seen them, and now I'm glad that I didn't name it. It's like it really someone just took a scene and just kept breaking it up into and now they've moved to the phone and cut, and now they've picked up the phone and cut, and I'm just like, oh, I can't take it. But if they could do more like those, was it Maxwell House?
Folgers?
Yeah. Those that would be actually fun to actually do it in that kind of way, as opposed to just breaking up your scene into 15 seconds. So it's certainly will be fun to watch.
It's interesting because we kind of used to say that web series, well, Marx has said very clearly that web series are the wild, wild west. in his book. But it kind of became a gold rush, and this advent of new delivery systems and new formats that are upon us has the potential to turn this kind of creation back into the wild, wild west of looking for new ways to utilize these delivery systems and new ways of telling stories. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
and I think that really highlights the importance of independent production, right? Because it's always the studios that jump on last after, we've all kind of burst in through the door with something really cool and new, and they see people really engaging with it. That's when it starts to go to the studios and the networks, and they start making their own and buying more, which is great. But then it does often take the independent producers to really be like, hey, what if I made a series on Instagram with 15-second episodes? Like, it takes often that level of creativity to sort of open up a new avenue of stuff. Like, Vine didn't used to be for sponsorship from like Nike or whatever, but now it is. Like, it often takes, independent people, creative people, whether they're producers or not, just thinking of a new way to use an existing tool to make it really sort of revolutionary.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's partially because we don't have the money that studios have. And so I think that is, like, our ingenuity is actually driven by having no money. So that's one advantage that we have over the studios is not having money. So we think of new ways to do things, for sure. I mean, it's funny. It's kind of cool with the Instagram and Vine and all that stuff, because I remember early on in web series, there were really short episodes. I don't know if anybody remembers. I think it was a Gemini Vision, I believe, was Rosario Dawson was in it. And they were like 2-minute episodes, and they drove me crazy because it was just like, and once we get, and it's over. And it's over. And I just kind of like, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't just sit here every 2 minutes and hit play on another episode, Although it was cool. It was certainly one of the most, the earlier ones, and it was awesome that she was in it and stuff like that. But they didn't make many more of them, and I think it just kind of showed. It's just like, yeah, you can have them be a little long. Plus, it was like a sci-fi drama, so it's like that short of an episode in a sci-fi drama, you're like, oh, I'm just pressing play all the time. I can't get engaged, So
no chance for mood building.
It's what's that?
No chance for mood building.
Yeah, you're just like, as soon as you get engaged, you're done. You're out again. And so it was an interesting study on what works in really, really short form and what may not work in really, really short form. So
yeah, there was a horror web series a while back too that did like 30-second, 33-second episodes, I think.
Whoa.
So yeah, that was interesting. So people have experimented. So this is like a 15-second episode. And in case you're wondering, in the article they also talk about how Snapchat has done original series the previous year. So they're all picking up on some of this.
I thought Snapchat stopped doing original series, though. I thought I read that they stopped doing original.
They may have stopped doing it, but at least they I don't know if they stopped.
They tried.
Yeah, they tried.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it was exciting to see someone experiment with that type of storytelling with it, because the first web series were very experimental in many ways, like very interactive and very different. So I think that's about. I think we're about done. It's been about an hour, so it's went by fast, I think. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it as we covered news and tips and everything. Before we go, if you guys can let everyone know where they can find you, if they want to contact you about the IAWTV information or anything like that. Now let's start off with Jonathan.
So info@iawtv.org will reach the organization with any of your general requests, questions, or wishes to contribute or anything like that. Of course, there's the IAWTV members Facebook group, which if you're a member, I'm sure you already know of. And you can tweet me personally at @JRobbins.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Tonya?
So to tweet me personally is @Tonya Dodds. So TONYADODDS.
And Tina, please.
And to tweet me personally, it's just my name, Cesa Ward. So you'll find me.
Great. And my Twitter handle is @Mr. Marx. So that's another episode of Content Creators Corner. I hope you all enjoyed it, enjoy this new format, and we'll see you next time.